Hello and welcome to my channel. Today's video we are going to be making this cute mini angel. Her body is all one piece, and then we will have to do a little bit of embroidering, add the halo, and then attach the wings. And then I've also made a plush version which you can follow along using this exact same pattern. For this video I will be using a number 4 medium weight yarn, a 4.25 millimeter hook, and 10 millimeter safety eyes. And for the plush version, I will be using a number 6 blanket yarn, a 5.5 millimeter hook, and 14 millimeter safety eyes. This is a crochet along, so I will be doing every stitch with you, and I am also providing a drop down at the top of the screen with the pattern instructions for the first 30 seconds of every row for you to follow along with. And if you enjoyed this video, please hit the subscribe button and click that bell. Not only does that help me out, but you'll also be notified every time I load a new video, as well as any likes, shares, and comments are always appreciated. Okay, I think that's everything. So grab your yarn and let's get started. Okay, we are going to start at the top of the head, and you can begin your rounds any way you prefer as long as you have the same amount of stitches in row 1. I'm going to be making a knot with a loop on the end, so what I do is I fold my yarn over in half. I'm going to pinch up at the top to create a loop. I'm going to wrap it around my finger, down and through to make a knot. And I'm going to pinch that loop, and I'm just going to slide that knot up so that my loop is just a little bit bigger than my hook. Insert my hook, grab my yarn, pull up, and chain 1. And remember, that does not count as a stitch. That just attaches our yarn to our loop. And for row 1, going over top of the tail, we're going to do 8 single crochets into the loop. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And then pull that tail to close that hole if you need to. Grab a stitch marker if you're using one. And for row 2, we're going to do 8 increases, so that's 2 single crochets in every stitch all the way around for a total of 16. So increase 1 and 2 in the same stitch. Increase 3 and 4, increase 5 and 6, increase 7 and 8, increase 9 and 10, increase 11 and 12, increase 13 and 14, increase 15 and 16. Row 3, we're going to do 1 single crochet, 1 increase, repeat that all the way around for a total of 24. So 1 single crochet for 1, 1 increase for 2 and 3, and then repeat that around. 4, increase, 5 and 6, 7, increase, 8 and 9, 10, increase, 11 and 12, 13, increase, 14 and 15, 16, increase, 17 and 18, 19, increase, 20 and 21, 22, increase, 23 and 24. Row 4, we are going to do 24 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. Row 5, we are going to be going in the back loop. So if you've never done that before, what you're going to be doing is you're going to be coming down through the middle of the V and out the back. And this row is very important because you want these front loops. This is where we're going to be attaching the halo when we get to that part. So you want to be able to see those front loops. So for row 5, in the back loops, we're going to be doing 24 single crochet. So down in between the V and out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and then you should be seeing this line of stitches here. If you're not, you want to go back and try again. So keep on going. 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. Now for this next row, we're going to be doing the opposite, and we're going to be going in the front loops. So this time we'll be coming down, up through the V, and we'll just be catching those little front loops because we're going to need these back loops for our next row. So for row 6, in the front loops, we're going to be doing 24 single crochet all the way around. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, then just have a look. You should be seeing this row of back loops on the back side there. Continue on. 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, and then we're just going to slip stitch into the next stitch. Tie that off. Leave yourself a little bit of a tail so we can put that to the inside later on. And now we're going to attach our face color, so grab that and get that ready. Okay, so now we're going to just attach this yarn, and you can attach yours any way you want. I like to do my knot with the loop on the end. I want that loop to be just big enough to get the hook in. And now what we're going to do, and make sure you're coming from the outside to the inside, or your work is going to be inside out after this. And if you're not sure where to start on your back loops, find your your first stitch of the first row, flip it around, and then that will be your first back loop. So let's attach our yarn now. And I like to leave the knot on the inside if I can. Chain one. This isn't going to count as a stitch. This is just for attaching. And for row 7 in the back loops, we are going to do 24 single crochets starting in that same stitch where we attach the yarn. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. Now for our next row, make sure you're going underneath that first V and not in that chain we made. I'm just going to get that started. And for row 8, we're going to start off with 6 single crochets. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And now we're going to make the ear, and we're going to do what I call a double crochet cluster of 3. So we're going to yarn over, go into that next stitch, grab your yarn and pull up, grab your yarn and go through the first 2 stitches on your hook. So that's one time, yarn over into that same stitch, grab your yarn and pull up, grab your yarn, go through the first 2 loops on your hook. That's 2. Yarn over in that same stitch, grab your yarn and pull up, grab your yarn and go through the first 2 loops on your hook. Now you just grab your yarn and you're going to go through all the loops on your hook, give it a pull. You might have to push the ear out a little bit. And then we are going to do 9 single crochets. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And now we're going to do our other ear. So a double crochet cluster of 3. 1, 2, 3, and then through all the loops, Pull it tight, push it out if you need to, and then we should have 7 single crochets left to finish off the row. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Row 9, we are going to do 24 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. Row 10, 24 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, and here on our 24th stitch we're going to change color. So we're going to go in, grab our yarn, pull up, leave those 2 loops on the hook. We're going to cut our color now, leave a little bit of a tail for tying, and we're going to grab our new color and we're going to tie that on to our old color nice and tight, as close to the hook as you can get it, 2 or 3 times. Then you're just going to grab that new color, pull it through those last 2 loops of your last stitch of the previous row. Row 11, 24 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. Row 12, we are going to do 24 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, and then on our 24th one we're going to change colors. So go in, grab your yarn, pull up, leaving those 2 loops on the hook. This time don't cut your yarn because we're only doing 1 row of color change. Then we're going to be switching back, so we'll just pick that up. So now you're going to grab whatever color you're going to be making the belt, and we're just going to tie that new color to our old color nice and tight, as close to the hook as you can get it, 2 or 3 times. Then you're going to grab that new color, bring it through those 2 loops to finish off that last stitch of your previous row. Row 13, we are going to do 24 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, and then on our 24th one, go in, grab your yarn, pull up. We're going to cut the belt color that we were just using. And now we're going to tie that back on to the color that we were using previously, to our main color, 2 or 3 times. And then pull that color through those 2 loops of the last stitch of the previous row. Row 14, we're going to do 24 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. Row 15, we are going to do 24 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. Okay, I'm going to take our hook out for a moment here. We're going to add the eyes and maybe a little bit of stuffing. So grab those and get those ready. Now make sure you're on the front, so where your stitch marker is and your little jogs of color changes are in the back. And what you're going to do is you're going to come to your ear. The first hole you're going to skip, and then the second hole you're going to go in, and you're 2 rows down. So you're right in between so 2 rows up, 2 rows down. 1 hole in the ear, and then you're going to do the same thing on the other side. So you're down 2, the ear, hole, eye. And then you should have 4 holes in between the eyes. Then we're just going to put the backs on them. Now grab your stuffing, and what we're going to do is we're going to stuff it about 2/3 full. So you want to have enough in there that you don't have to put a ton of stuffing in on the last rows, but you also don't want so much in there that it's hard to go around. So I'm just stuffing it right to about the belt line. You could do a little bit more. Actually, I might. We'll see how it goes. Just do a tad bit more. Every time I do this, I end up pulling it out. Okay, let's give her a go. Let's get our hook back in. I was just thinking, if you wanted to try and make this a boy and a girl, you could probably just leave off the bow and this next row, the frill of the dress that I'm going to do. Seems like an easy, so if you've made a girl, or if you want to try making a boy instead, skip this row. But if you want to make the little dress skirt, row 16, we're going to start off in the front loops with an increase. And then we're going to do 2 slip stitches in the front loops. Oops. 1, 2, and then we're just going to continue that same pattern all the way around, and just remember in the front loops, so increase 1 and 2 in the same stitch, and 2 slip stitches. Whoop. 1, 2, and repeat that again. Increase, 2 slip stitches, increase, 2 slip stitches. If you need to, check that you have your back loop showing on the other side. Increase, 2 slip stitches, increase. Now I love this yarn, but this little strip of metallic sometimes gets in your way, so I'm still on my increase. 2 slip stitches, increase, 2 slip stitches, increase, 2 slip stitches. So I'm at the end here. When you get there, you can slip stitch in the next stitch. Then I like to chain 1 just to give me a little bit of space. come over to my next row, so we're not pulling this really tight. I might have to get rid of that for this next row. Okay. Okay, so for row 17 in the back loops, we are going to be doing 1 single crochet, 1 decrease, repeating that all the way around for a total of 16. So 1 single crochet, 1 decrease for 2, single crochet for 3, decrease for 4, single crochet for 5, decrease for 6, single crochet for 7, decrease for 8, single crochet for 9, decrease for 10, single crochet for 11, decrease for 12, single crochet for 13, decrease for 14, single crochet for 15, and a decrease for 16. All right, now we will have to add that stuffing back in. You want to have most of your stuffing in now. We only have 1 row left. And when you're putting your last little bit in, make sure you're kind of bringing it out. So you're kind of making a corner here and keeping your bottom flat. So instead of letting it mound up like this, you're going to be pushing it into the corner and the sides here. And an easy way to do that is to sometimes just take your fingers in and push it across. And then if you need to, you can just put your stuffing down in the middle. I think that might be good there. So for row 18, we are going to do 8 decreases. So make sure you're in your first stitch and not that chain. 1 decrease, 2 decreases, 3 decreases, 4 decreases, 5 decreases, 6 decreases, 7 decreases, 8 decreases. And then you're just going to slip stitch into the next stitch, tie that off, leave yourself quite a bit of a tail so that you have an option of making a loop up here later if you want. And we're not closing it up yet because we're going to do all our embroidering up through the bottom. Okay, now we are going to do the little edging in between the face and the body. So what you're going to do to make sure you have enough yarn, leave yourself a little bit of a tail for tying. You're going to hold that into the back center somewhere. We'll wrap it around twice because we're back stitching. And then again, leave yourself a little bit of a tail. I have a little extra. I always think it's better to have a little more than not enough. And then we'll thread that on. We're going to come up through the bottom. Actually, I'm going to get rid of my stitch marker now. It's out of my way. And I'm going to come up, so somewhere in the center. So here's your color change. I'm just going to come up 1 hole in front of that. Leave a little bit of yarn at the end for tying. I'm going to come back 1, go into that hole, And then I'm going to skip where I just went in and go one more. So I'm in the next stitch from where I started. Now I'm going to come back into that hole, go forward, past my yarn, and into the next hole. And we're just going to do that all the way around in between where I have white and pink. I don't know if it's easy to see. So this is my body, this is my face, and I'm just following this line all the way around. So come back, go past your yarn in that next hole, come back, past your yarn into the next hole, come backwards, past your yarn into the next hole, and just keep on going all the way around. While I'm doing this, I'm just going to remind you that I have a Facebook craft page. The link is down in the description if you ever want to go there and share something you've made with me. You have to go into a post and leave a comment or a photo there. I also have, within the last year or two, everything I've made. I have the colors listed and the yarn types and brands in the description as well. And if there's any kind of series that I'm doing, I also have the links to that. So I'll have all the little minis down there in the description. This is strangely a nice change from single crochets. Also, if you did Mrs. Claus, I debated doing this on her. If you really like this, you could always go back and do that to Mrs. Claus as well. So right here is kind of going to be a funny spot. You're just going to have to kind of guess if you want to have one or two. I'm just going to put one for the video. And I'm just going to have a weird little slash here where I go back down. But if you want, you can try and... Actually, you could probably maybe... Let's try it. What happens if we go in here and pull it through? I don't know. You might have to go into this one too. I think I just messed it up. Anyway, the back might be a mess, but nobody really sees the back. Nope, that's exactly what it would have looked like. Anyway, out the bottom, and then we'll tie that. Give it a cut. Alright, and while we have this color out, we might as well do the halo. So we're going to be attaching the yarn. You can attach yours any way you want, but leave yourself a little bit of a tail for tying. I'll be making my knot with a loop on the end. And when you go to find these front loops, you want to make sure you're starting in the right spot. So, I don't know if you can see. So these are my front loops here, and they're spiraling around from the bottom up to here. That's the way you want to crochet. You don't want to start here and then get over here and there's no front loop. So you want to make sure you're starting in the bottom in that first front loop. And you want to be going up so you see the front side of the stitch. So he's the right way, or she. Attach your yarn, pull it through that first front loop, and then you're going to do one chain just for attaching, not counting as a stitch. And now you're going to do 24 single crochets all the way around in these front loops. So 1, and that was starting in that same stitch where you attached. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Sorry, I hope you guys can see this. 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 'Sorry, it's hard to hold it up around this camera. My hands don't bend the right way. 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. So don't worry if you're struggling, because yeah, it's not the easiest. I think 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, last one here, 24. So yeah, just take your time on this. It's definitely worth it in the end. And if you're doing it in the plush yarn, I feel for you right now, because I did have to do it one time. Just finding those loops was not fun. So now leave yourself a little bit of a tail for tying. And just have a look. This will come down once we're done fiddling around with all the stitches. There, it should look about like that. And we just got to hide these ends in. And they're already kind of tied and tied off, so I'm not worrying about tying them again. I'm just making sure I get down nice and close to where I've attached the yellow, and I'm just going to come out the bottom. You can tie them together if you want. You could tie them down here even. I'm not too worried about these coming out. I think I went in the wrong stitch here, so I'm just going to fix that, make it look a little neater. And then just come out, and I see I did something funny here too, somehow. Redo that one. Okay. Might as well put this in too while we're here. So this is your tail from your hair when you finished it. And I'm just going to put that down in where the white and the brown meet, and out the bottom too. and just give those a little bit of a cut. And now I'm just taking the little end I just cut off, and we'll use that to make a little bow. So I'm just going to come somewhere in the center. So this is my center stitch. I'm just going to come down. So about right here, I'm going to put my little bow. Where are you going? All right, and then when you're happy with it, we'll just give the bottom ends a cut. And I just cut them about even with the bottom of the dress. All right, now we're just going to take a little scrap of the matching skin color and we'll do the hands. So we're just going to come up the bottom. And we're going to come one row down into the white, centered with the bottom of the eye. So right there. Pull most of your yarn through, leave a little for tying, and we're going to go backwards to the outside, and we're just going to wrap around this one stitch 4 times. So 1, 2, 3, and then on our 4th one, same thing. We'll go to the other side. It's just centered under the eye. 1 row down into the white, and then we'll wrap around 4 times on this side, going towards the back and around that stitch. So 1, 2, 3, and then on our 4th one, out the bottom for tying. Don't tie it too tight at first. Slowly tighten as you go. Cut that. And now let's grab some black for her little mouth. If you have embroidery thread, use that. What I'm going to do is I just separate 4-strand yarn into one piece. Now we'll thread that on. Come up through the bottom. And we're going to come in this hole right beside the eye. And this is where we're going to go on the other side. So you just want to find the center when you go down. So here and here. So I'm a little over this way for my hole. So I'm just going to go in a little piece of that stitch and then come up into the other hole beside the eye. Then come back down into that stitch again and out the bottom. And try not to pull on this too hard. There's our little mouth. Then you'll give this a tie and a cut. And now let's close up the bottom. So thread on your ending tail. If you do not want to see all those little ends, you can grab a tiny little bit of stuffing and just kind of tuck it in there. And then nobody will know but you and me. Okay. So now you're just going to weave in and out of these top loops of your last row. And if you are doing this in the plush yarn, go about halfway and then give it a pull and then go the other half. And that will help to prevent your yarn from snapping when you give it a good pull. Alright, so I'm going to pull mine now. I'm all the way around. And then I'm just going to tie in the next stitch and make a knot. And then we'll bring that up through the center and out the top loop where we started. Where's my needle? There it is. All right, now we're going to make the wing, and we're going to be starting with a chain, so you can start that any way you prefer, but leave yourself a bit of a tail. I'm going to make my knot with the loop on the end. Insert your hook, and then you are going to chain 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then starting in the second chain from the hook, we are going to do 4 single crochets across. 1, 2, 3, 4, and now we're going to do 5 single crochets in this end stitch, and we're going to pivot around so we end up on the other side. So 1, 2, I'm pivoting as I go, so I'm kind of on the other side now. 3, 4, 5, and then we're going to do 2 single crochets across. 1, 2, and then we're going to chain 1 and turn. Now we're going to do 3 single crochets. 1, 2, 3, and then we're going to do 3 increases around. So 1 increase, 2 increases, and 3 increases. And then we're going to do 5 single crochets across. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Chain 3. 1, 2, 3, and then you're going to turn and you're going to go in the second chain from the hook. And what I do here is I kind of hold where my second one is as I'm turning so that I know where it's going to be going, because it kind of twists funny and it's hard to find. So I'm just going to make sure I go up in there now. Oh, that didn't work. There we go. And now we are going to do 14 single crochets. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, and then we're just going to slip stitch to tie off. Leave yourself a little bit of a tail. So there's your first wing, and then we'll do our second wing. So again, leave yourself a bit of a tail. I'll be making my knot with the loop on the end. Insert your hook. We're going to chain 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And we're going to do 4 single crochets across, starting in that second chain. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then we're going to do 5 single crochets in that end, turning and pivoting as we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then we're going to do 2 single crochets across. 1, 2, chain 1 and turn. Now we're going to do 3 single crochets. 1, 2, 3. Then we're going to do 3 increases around. 1 increase, 2 increases, 3 increases. Then we're going to do 5 single crochets across. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then now we're going to chain 3. 1, 2, 3. We're going to turn, try and keep track of that second single crochet. Oh, there, that's better. And now we are going to do 14 single crochets. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, and then slip stitch in the next stitch. Now I did these a couple different ways when I added them on. So for this one, I'll take that out. So for this one, I actually crocheted them together with slip stitches, and then they went straight across when I sewed them on in the middle. So if you want to do that, you're going to bring your 2 wings together like this, and then you're going to single crochet or slip stitch about 4 or 5 stitches up the top. But when I did the, and I'm going to leave you to do that on your own if you want to try it that way. When I did this one, I like them pointing up and down more instead of straight across. So I'm going to sew this one like this. I just like the look of it better. Okay. So I'm going to tie that off, leaving myself some yarn for sewing it on. And we're going to grab our little pins. I'm just going to show you how to place it for the way that I preferred it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to line up the tip of the wing just kind of at the back of the hand. And I'm going to go along this row. So my little points are just hitting the same spot in the row. And then I'm going to pin that on for when I sew it. Two should be enough. So then take your other wing and do the same thing. And remember, one wing will be backwards and one wing will be forward. So I'm just lining that tip up with the back of the hand like I did on the other side. I'm going to bring it straight around. And then pin that. Whoop, it slipped a little bit. There we go. And then pin it there. And then pin it on the bottom too. And then you can just double check that that looks okay from the front. If you want them out further, you can always line them up further in. And we're going to be using these bottom ending tails to sew. So grab your hook on one of your wings, or your needle, I keep saying hook. And all I'm going to do is go around a stitch and then come up into the wing. Go around a stitch in the body and then come up on the edge of the wing. And I'm just going to do this till I get to about the top corner of the wing. So probably about 4 or 5 times. So that's 3 stitches. That's 4. That's probably good enough. So I'm just going to come around the same stitch at the end here. And then I'll tie it. I'm just going to tie it right close in one of the stitches I just put in. And then I'm going to bring that out the bottom. And then we'll do the same thing on the other side. So make sure you're grabbing the bottom string. We're going to do something with these middle wing strings in a minute. So again, you're just going to get a piece of the body and then a piece of the wing. Piece of the body, piece of the wing, piece of the body, piece of the wing. Now I'm on my 4th one, which is where I was on my other one, so my pin's in the way there, so I'm going to take that out. Piece of the body and then a piece of the wing. And I went around twice on the last one, so I'm going to go around twice again. And then just tie that and bring it out the bottom somewhere. And the same spot is handy for when you cut it. I'm not going to be tying these down there, but you can if you want. Okay, I'm going to take these pins out now. And then next step, we're gonna, because they kind of are all over and they'll flap, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna use where I started. I'm gonna use that just to tack them down so they stay out nice and straight. So thread on one of your ends. I'm doing the one facing the inside first. And you're just gonna catch a little piece of a stitch underneath. And then I'm going to tie it as well, I think. So I'm just tying in the same spot that I kind of went. So it's the same piece of string, so you want to make sure you keep it nice and tight. And then out the bottom. And then for the one that's on the outside, thread that on. Then you're just going to come straight down, bring it to the other side, and then do the same thing. So I'm just doing it wherever it's sitting. You can do more if you want. I think for the bigger one I did a little bit more for the plush version, just to kind of secure it better. And then just tie that somewhere. And out the bottom. And I'm going to cut those ends. And there we go. Our little angel. Thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed this video, please hit the subscribe button and click that bell. Not only does that help me out, but you'll also be notified every time I load a new video, as well as any likes, shares, and comments are always appreciated. I'd also like to say thank you to everyone who has been so kind to have hit the thanks button and sent me such generous donations. You will now be listed at the end of all my next videos as my super thanks friends. Take care, be safe, and happy crocheting.